Welcome to Book of Engin. My name is Engin Yeşilyemiş, and thank you for joining me today. Thank you for the attention you have shown to the previous episode. It was wonderful to see that many people were interested in that last episode called My Circumcision Party. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe, and more of these thoughts and pieces of my life and comparing it to what I'm seeing today and what might happen tomorrow will be all revealed here. I was fortunate that to had work last week. My company was out there. It was a renovation of a senior citizen home. My crew and I went there and we gave it a nice facelift before the new tenants moved in. It was funny to work in a senior citizen neighborhood because as they see work take place in one of the neighboring homes, other neighbors came by to see what happened to the previous tenant and who's coming next. And luckily we had a good story. The good story was the tenant that was there decided to move in with her daughter, and then her daughter's best friend's mom needed a place from Grass Valley, so she now is going to occupy that very space. So we went in there and did a good, nice clean up paint job everywhere, and refreshed the cabinets and changed the handles. So that kept us motivated and healthy. Another good thing was I continued to keep my promise because as an immigrant, before you enter United States, they make you swear an oath, and they use various books of your belief, and you put your hand on it and raise your right hand and say, I swear that I will never become a liability on government resources, state resources. And I'm ever so grateful that I still am maintaining and looking after my family and did not apply for any unemployment or not even small business loan. Just getting on with it, and hopefully there's light at the end of this tunnel and we're going to be just fine. Speaking of welfare and people benefiting from unemployment and such, don't think that I'm down on this. Not at all. Those safety nets exist so you can maintain your lifestyle and you can stay in the race one way or the other. You can make these choices, but I also know people who abuse the system as well. The other day I was talking about California and weed consumption. I did smoke. I've been smoking. I'm a late smoker, but per se, I know people who will remind me of the days when I would walk around saying dope is stupid. But I was introduced to weed, my college years. And but I wasn't a frequent smoker because I was an athlete, and I cherished my lungs. I didn't want to put any smoke in it and such. And also I had this, whatever your parents teach you, weed is a gateway drug to the next thing. Of course, my dad's deep, meaningful speech about not sending me to the States as an exchange student, number one reason was he was afraid that I would become a drug addict. Well, here I am, 16 years in the United States now, and I worked in various fields, and I went through the whole green card process and the citizenship and the voting and whatnot. I have yet become a drug addict. And another benefit about living in the States, my alcohol consumption reduced dramatically because in this country you have to drive everywhere. And when you are a green card holder, you're trying to keep your nose as clean as possible because any mistake you make gets punished a lot more severely than, say, if you were a normal citizen and had a misdemeanor. The green card holder gets treated completely different, and it is possible that you can lose your privileges to be in this country. So having living with that kind of paranoia, the first, I say, the 6-7 years of my residence in the United States also conditioned me to steer away from these things. And then I moved to California. Once I moved here, what I noticed was, and I moved here right during the recession, 2008, late 2008. And for me, it was an upgrade because I had just switched jobs from one bicycle company to another bicycle company. And this other bicycle company offered basically doubled my salary in just one sitting, plus there were the bonuses and whatnot to come. And me being an eager beaver, I just went for it and then crushed it, and those years allowed me to buy my house here in Santa Rosa and made all this thing possible that I could provide for my family right now. But since I moved to California, I have also met many people my age or around my age, so my generation of folk, not doing much and complaining plenty. And as they're complaining about things, I'm just mostly money. Mostly, how come somebody has more than they have, and how could they get more of what the other ones have? And why is it not being given to them? All I can think of was, there's no free trip to Hawaii. I don't know a free trip to Hawaii. Now I could hear some girls going like, hey, this guy bought me a trip to Hawaii. How free was that trip? How free was that trip? There was no expectations attached to that trip? That's what I'm saying. There's always if somebody's giving you something, some sort of expectations comes with it. This is the way life is. This is not my pessimistic look at things. It's just how it is. There's no free trip to Hawaii unless you win the lottery. Then Uncle Sam will come and say, well, you won the lottery. We need this much of it. So it never ends. It never ends. But these very people, and I've known them forever. I've known them now 2008 to 2018, like well over 10 years. I've known these people, and their condition have not changed. They're still complaining. They're still bitching and complaining about things. They're still expecting someone to come and save them. Now, these very people, I also watch them on social media. And when the lockdown or stay-home guidance were put in place, we were sent the $1,200. Thank you, America, and God bless America. And, of course, you have the same friends. They bitched and complained about how they have not received that money yet. The very people who have complained about how they have not received that money yet, how hard things are, how much they should deserve, also, on the same day, post a picture of their takeout. Listen, if you don't have money, please don't order takeout. If you're relying on government assistance, please don't go buy sophisticated hipster brew beer, because your math will never check out. If you go do some, bulk shopping, cook at home, your money will go much further. But you choose to spend $6 on a pint of beer, That's your doing. And you get what you deserve. Just like I get what I deserve. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and it was a bad example. I was telling her about a bad example in my life, and I finished that story saying, I deserve everything I got in this life. What I was referring to is, whatever I received that was bad in my life was also my doing. I'm responsible for it. Everything, like divorces, jobs, friendships, transactions that didn't work out. I have a responsibility in all that. It's not somebody's fault, this and that, but I have my part in all of them. She was trying to suit me. She's being the loving girlfriend. And she's like, but look what you have. I'm like, exactly. I deserve everything I get. If it's bad, I deserve it. If it's good, I deserve it as well. I earned them. I earned my mistakes as well. So someone who is complaining about the government, complaining about the government aid not showing up on time in a time of crisis, posting their takeout, it doesn't match, it doesn't work out. Just really look at yourself. Look at how many other math problems that are not checking out in your life. I mean, is it my place to tell you that you're doing it wrong? Somebody has to. It feels like not enough people are telling the other ones that they are doing something wrong. We live in an environment where it's just all we want is praise. All we want is attendance trophies. And I've talked about this before. We don't know how to talk to one another. Let's talk about like some of our entitlements. We're all talking about freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. That's the perception of freedom of speech. I think freedom of speech has a lot to do with listening. And freedom of speech has a lot to do with how much room are you giving to the other side for them to describe you, their reason to their madness. So you can get an understanding of where this person is coming from. So listening is fundamental to a freedom of speech. Here's one thing about comedians. On or off stage, we have many disagreements. The beauty of the community, the circle of comedians, you can sit down and talk about anything with a comedian. There are no rules, there are no borders. Everything can be assessed and picked apart. Because that is the sport. That is the mission of like how many different ways to look at something. And when most of the comedians, I'm not going to say all comedians, but most of the comedians have that approach. Possibilities. You know, you have one way of looking at something, but someone can say it so well and so precisely, perhaps, and it won't change your mind, but you will also allow the possibility to come in. And that will change your worldview. Things will look a little softer. Then we get on stage and we defend our point to the max, and either people love you for it or hate you for it. What are you going to do? You can't make everybody happy. Here's one thing about freedom of speech. We both are capable of being assholes. You can be an asshole. I can be an asshole. Even the nicest person you know can be an asshole. It's possible. Can you sit at the table without being an asshole? and get your point across. Because every freedom of speech debate, every disagreement is essentially a learning opportunity. Think about that. But you got to listen first. Listen. Most of you are not going to listen to this to the end. And this is like a 25-minute number that I'm going to talk about and look at my notes maybe and tell you a thing or two. Listening is it's something really to think about. First time I started paying, and our expectations determine our listening as well. For example, if you look at me, English is my third language. I have to think before I compose a thought, especially if it's unfamiliar territory. If it's something that I haven't engaged before, I have to line up my vocabulary to get my position across. And if it's an unfamiliar territory, not that I need to compose sentences, but I need to find my position in that unfamiliar territory in a foreign language. In Turkish, it's much easier for me to handle those because I have the training and the ways to take my time, listen to what the other person is saying, and in return, compose my thought, whether I'm agreeing with it or disagreeing with it. In English, or in our current times, the entitlement to how fast we want to listen to something, how quickly we want to listen to something, and how we want to hear what we are listening to plays a huge factor. I look at my stats. Right now, the average listener or viewer is staying with me for 5 to 6 minutes. That's what the stats indicate in the studio of the YouTube. Is it possible to understand someone in 5 minutes? No way. No way. But this is again the disease the corporate environment has brewed. They hire these so-called consultants who are experts. And I remember way back in the day, I was at a sales meeting and then some business advisor gave us this deep, meaningful speech in regards to if you were good at something and you have something to pitch, you should be able to pitch that in 15 seconds. That is the biggest load of crap I have ever heard in my life. Imagine this. A complete stranger approaches you and in 15 seconds he's going to say certain things in a certain way that he is going to convince you to sit at the table to do business with them. Show me one good example of that. I bet you it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist regardless of how well you're prepared. It's impossible. Because you're dealing with strangers. And now with this current environment, you're going to be that much more wary of a stranger. I was a single man. I had sex without a condom so many times. With strange women. And later I thought about that going, was that a right choice? Was that a right choice? Am I going to catch something? I don't know this person. But I slept with them. It took more than 15 seconds to get to that, to build up that trust. But again, this is when at the heights of AIDS epidemic or AIDS is a big thing. AIDS was still killing people. Nobody dies from AIDS right now. Thanks to Magic Johnson program, nobody dies from AIDS. But in this whole trying to squeeze something in 15 seconds to convince people to do business with you, it doesn't work. It will never work. It will never work. You will never ever have a good, reliable relationship with anyone if you're putting everything is like, oh, 15 seconds. If you can't describe it, then fuck you. No. And fuck everybody who endorses that. And I am mad at myself that at the time I even gave it a go. Then here's the silver lining. When I was advised this whole 15 seconds business, I tried because of what I believe. I tried it on for a size first to determine how it's not going to work. All my relationships, the glue is time. The glue is time. Every single relationship you're in, the glue is time. More time you spend together, if you like the person now, 10 years later, you're going to love that person. I guarantee you. I guarantee this is how it works. But anyone who puts a pair of khakis and a checker shirt on can stand in front of you and read it from some teleprompter that if you can pitch it in 15 seconds, study shows, all those studies are wrong. All those studies are to manipulate the masses to work even harder for a price that is less than their worth. So know your worth. Listen to the others. And don't believe the hype. You can do so much better than that. You can do so much better than that. But you're young, maybe. You're new to the professional world. You want people to like you. But see, your parents should have taught you that. Your parents should have taught you that what people think about you does not determine your self-worth. Until you know your self-worth, what others think about you is how you feel. It's ego. It's ego. Whether you get somebody's approval and this and that. For few things, somebody's approval is good and perhaps essential. But in a corporate environment where you have to laugh at somebody's shitty jokes at the water cooler, you're doing it wrong. You got it wrong and you're living wrong. Because tomorrow, you're going to be 80-something years old. You're going to have your feet up. Listen, all of us, same. There's going to be a bed. We're not going to look good. We're going to be short of breath. We're going to be tired because we're about to die. And all you're going to think about is all that bullshit time you've spent at the water cooler laughing at some bullshit personalities' bullshit jokes. Why? In hopes for that person to like you. Listen, bullies strive to control people. Good leaders, they live to teach. My name is Engin Yeşilyemiş. If you like this, please subscribe, and I hope to talk more about everything soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.